What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragon, we are going to be reviewing Core Connection: Rise of Atlantis. Now, this is published by Japanime Games in conjunction with Keep Dry. Now, I did look for some information on the designers. Didn't really find anything. I believe that it is also Keep Dry, as they handle the publishing and the design of the game in Japan. Now, I could be wrong. If you do happen to know, please let me know down below in the comments. Well, Japanime is responsible for the translation and North American distribution, and possibly in other sections of the world as well. Now, we would just like to thank Japanime Games for sending us this review copy of the game. And as always, our opinions are our own. This is definitely more my style of game. I love mecha. I mean, look, giant mecha on this. How could I say no to a game like this? So, Julie, why don't you tell them more about the game itself? Take it away.
So it is a competitive game that is
competitive.
Intended for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and above, and plays in about 60 to 90 minutes, though I think one or two of our games at the 2-player count was about 45 minutes.
Yeah, I also think that you can definitely go a little bit younger than 12. Not sure how much younger. There's really nothing that's sort of questionable in terms of the art or the content. Really, it's mainly about how the combos and everything comes together. So I'd say that probably you could get away with 10, depending on how experienced they are with games, but I wouldn't go much younger than that.
So we're playing with cards, but is this deck builder?
It is a deck building game, but Japanime Games likes to call it, and I do agree with them, this is a mecha builder, because what you're doing in Core Connection: Rise of Atlantis is you take on the role of a pilot with a mecha. Now, what is going to happen is you start with a basic mech and a basic pilot. As you battle monsters, also known as Vril, who are the forces of Atlantis, you're going to be defeating them and gaining power. Once you get to a certain level, you will reveal your true pilot, who has abilities as well. And then you also be able to reveal your true powered-up mecha, and then you should be strong enough to defeat the forces of Atlantis and become the strongest Resonant pilot. Now, to do that, you either have to be the first player to get over 20 energy, and by the time the game comes around to you again, still have the most energy, or be the first player to get the 30 energy when the game will automatically end. There's also a big boss character in there. I'm completely drawing a blank as to the name of the character. If you manage to defeat him, well, the game is over as well.
It was Unknown.
No, that's not Unknown. He's definitely another strong one. Unknown looks like corrupted Resonant. It's the one that has that nasty ability that...
yes, that I encountered, yes.
Yes, the one that does 15 damage to all mechs. Now, in order to power up your mech, what you're going to be doing is purchasing attachments and tactics. Some things that are a little bit different about the game. Your purchases go right into your hand, so keep that in mind. Don't worry, we'll cover that in more detail when we get into the how to play. So with that being said, Julie, what time is it?
It's time to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend, or are we rivals this time?
We better be best friends.
Okay, so we're best friends. Actually, there's a comic included in this, and most of the characters are best friend. There's one that is a little bit standoffish.
So we're going to take it to the table one more time.
Yeah, let's get it back to the table. See who's going to become the strongest mech pilot and defeat Atlantis. Now let's take a look at the components for Core Connection: Rise of Atlantis. Now we'll start with the player boards. There's a total of 4 of them here. As you can see, this will track your energy. It tells you at each point when you're going to achieve something. So here at level 4, you gain your actual pilot. Here at level 8, you get to pick your Resonant. At level 20, in terms of energy, you enter the end game phase, and if you are the first player to get the 30 energy, well, you will win. Also, you'll notice that we have dice over here, these 20-sided die. There are 4 of them. Now, these dice are to be placed on your board, and you use it to track your statistics. Now, depending on the attachments that you do get, you can actually go past 20 on some of your stats. And for energy tracking, we've got these nice cubes over there. I just placed them there because it looked a little nicer having this center area all filled up. So what we've been doing is using the blue for range, black for durability, and the pink for melee. Now you're going to have two main decks of cards that you're going to be working with, and we'll take a look at the monster deck first. We'll come back to the HQ deck afterwards. So in the monster deck, you're going to have a mix of different things that you will face. So we got events. So for example, survival instinct makes you reveal cards until a monster shows up, and that monster can't be defeated unless your mecha is critical. Just one fact about that, you have to be aboard a Resonant, like one of these mechs, not your starting ones, in order for it to be able to go critical. You might have things like Titanic Growth, which will give monsters +4, +4, +4. But if you beat it, you will gain the cards, these events as well, which will add to your energy pool. Some have when revealed events, like the Vril Breaker, which causes the current player to discard the attachment connected to their mech with the highest cost. You got some very challenging ones like the Wall, and you get more standard ones here like the Vril Guardian, Lucky Bird, which is not that great of a monster, but does have some cool effects. Now there are some monsters that I would call like bosses of the game. And if you're familiar with like a mecha anime, these would be like the big bad. So we've got like the Slaughter here. So the current player chooses one of their attachments, returns it to the HQ deck and reshuffles it. Then when defeated, you may disable your mech. If you choose not to, return the Slaughter to the bottom of the monster deck. So really annoying there, and it causes some issues for you, but it's worth 7 energy. Arma Atlantis is a very strong one. As you can see, durability of 20, melee attack of 15. When revealed, it deals 15 damage to every mech, disabling any mech that suffers damage equal to or greater than its durability. And you can't negate the effect at all, which is really annoying. And then Enosigaios, who is really the final boss here. As you can see, all the stats are 30 across the board. If your pilot is not awakened, you have all of your mecha's battle values rounded down. He's immune to all effects, and his effect cannot be negated. And then when defeated, the game ends immediately, and the player with the most total energy will win the game. So that's what you're going to see from the monster deck. You also have some other ones like this sort of corrupted Resonant Unknown. So pretty cool stuff that you'll be facing, as well as lots of standard cards. Now we'll take a look at what you get for your starting deck. So you start with a prototype mech, which if damaged, you need to discard a card to ready again. You have a mysterious figure as your pilot, who you will then declare as one of the pilots that are available in the game, one of the 6. And your prototype mech will eventually be upgraded to a full-blown Resonant, as I mentioned earlier. Now you have a starting deck of 6 attachments. So the HQ deck is divided between attachments and tactics. We'll just take a look at what you can get. So this will increase your melee by 2, range by 2, range by 3, melee by 3. Antiviral barrier gives you 3 durability. Impact resistance shield, an extra 2 durability. So that's what you get in your starting deck. Now you've got the mechanic. Once you choose one of the following, you can connect 1 additional attachment on this turn, as normally you can only do 1, or increase one of your stats by +1. The engineer lowers the cost to buy and connect attachments during your turn, and the operator will let you look at the top card of the monster deck and return it face down. Now the rest of these cards that we have right here is just to show you what comes in the game. So it's 4 sets of all the same starting cards. So these are set apart from the rest of the HQ deck. You won't be mixing anything in. So we'll take a look at the HQ deck now, just to give you an idea. So there's some really strong attachments, like these Godforge ones that you can acquire. So for example, your mech is immune to damage caused by effects. That's pretty crazy. During your turn, your mech is immune to battle damage from monsters and mechas with lower melee. So these are 2 of the strongest cards in the game. This Tactic Advanced Development lets you reveal 4 cards from the HQ deck and purchase a card and put in your discard pile, giving you an extra chance to purchase. Frontline Base adds an extra resource for you. Long Range Sensor lets you look at the top of the HQ deck of the monster deck. Search Pattern also lets you look at the top of the monster deck. Concentrated Fire will negate the effects and have the durability rounded down of all monsters you fight during this turn's battle phase. Friendly Fire is a take that card that lets So once per turn, all of the players may discard one attachment connected to their mecha. If they don't, their mecha is disabled. That can be very annoying, especially if your Resonant is awakened. Emergency Booster gives you 2 melee, but you can also discard it to draw 2 cards. Core Connect will awaken your pilot. Don't worry, we'll talk about that and how to play. Then Traitorous Steed. So for this one, for example, you trash this card to battle with the mecha of your choice with the highest total energy value. Sorry, the mecha of the player with the highest total energy value. You choose what attack value to use. If you defeat your opponent's mecha in battle, you get to take one monster with 5 energy from their pool. So this is another one of those take that cards. And as you can see, there are a lot of duplicates in here. Combined attack lets you work together with another player to defeat a monster. So lots of cool stuff. Navi system reduces the amount of energy you must have to reveal a pilot or get on board a Resonant. There's the other big one. This one is for range, so it adds 5-tier range. And then if your mecha has higher range than your opponent, it gains plus X to the range, which is the difference between your mechas and your opponents. Can be very powerful. So lots of cool cards that you're going to be purchasing from the HQ to equip your mech and make sure you're able to defeat the forces of Atlantis. So here we've got our pilots. So we'll take a look at them each one by one. Akari Hino, whose awakened ability, and this is a little difficult to read, it's once per game when your mecha is disabled, it remains in its current state instead. So you're able to just not disable your mech, which is pretty cool. So here is her mech Kanagara, her Resonant. Now, you may pick any Resonant that you choose, but they definitely work together sometimes with their specific pilot. Kanagara, when this mech is defeated in battle, deal damage equal to twice its melee to the opposing monster / mecha. Well, I'm actually going to just flip these over. I like the art on the Awakened side as well. Here we've got Amelia Hawk, and as you can see as well, they have different stats than your mysterious figures. So during the initiate combat phase, she can check the top card of the monster deck. If it's a monster with 4 or less durability, it goes into her energy pool. Now, when awakened, if you've defeated a monster in battle this turn, you get to get a second battle phase, which Julie definitely used to her advantage. We'll talk about that in our review. So Frontier, when awakened, can negate all effects of the opposing monsters and mecha pilots you face in battle. And in battle, this mech will deal damage before the opposing monster mecha does. So if the opposing monster is defeated, you will not take any damage. And that's the same ability that's on the starting side for Frontier. Gaofuan. So once per turn, you can place 1 card from your hand face down in your energy pool to gain 1 resource and draw a card. It's a way to really cycle through your deck and also add a nice boost for Awaken phase because you get +1/1 for each card face down in your energy pool. So pretty cool. Her mech Koryu, you have an extra +2 resources during your main phase, and then you can purchase 1 extra card during your main phase when the mech is awakened. Cleo and Patra Eartham. So main phase once per turn, you get to look at the top 3 cards of the HQ. You reveal an attachment if there is one, and you may connect it to your mecha for free. So that's a great way to get those Guard Forge attachments for free. And when awakened, reveal the top 1 card, I don't know why it says 1 card. So the top card of the HQ deck, you may ignore the card's cost and player connected to your mecha for free. So you can actually do that twice. That's pretty ridiculous when you think about it. Their mecha tour set can have an extra 2 attachments. And when awakened, it gains +X, which is equal to the number of attachments connected to it. So that's pretty cool. You've got Romana Illis. Once per turn, you get to draw an extra card. And then when awakened, you may draw 3 cards, then discard 2 to keep the one that you want. Her mecha, the ER28 Phalanx. Once per turn, gain +X. And that's for the number of tactic cards you play during the turn. So playing a lot of these cards is great for her. You can boost things a lot by drawing more cards. And then when awakened, you may choose 1 tactic in any player's discard pile and play it for free, but you then have to trash the card at the end of the turn. So that gets the card out of your opponent's decks. And lastly, we've got Rasha Dragnov. if there's a player with more energy, then you awaken this card. When awakened, you also have a different ability for her. So if your mecha is not critical, you have to flip the card over. Main phase, once per turn, choose one opponent and battle with their mech. If you defeat their mech, obtain one monster from their energy pool with 5 or less energy. You can only choose each opponent once during the game. So she is definitely the more combative player, the one that's a little bit more traitorous, and can safely say she does not play well with others. So her mech is Sventovit. So once per turn, during the main phase, you may trash one card from your hand to place one attachment connected to any mecha in its owner's discard pile. And then awakened, once per game, disable all other mecha in play. So really not overall a team player. So Julie and I actually haven't played with this character. It goes a little bit against the way we like to play these types of games. So with that being said, we're going to now teach you how to set up and how to play Core Connection Rise of Atlantis. Now let's teach you how to set up Core Connection Rise of Atlantis. Each player is going to need to take a player board. They're going to need a cube to track their energy. Here we've got the available pilots and resonance setup. We've got the shuffled HQ deck as well as the monster deck over here. Now normally I'd have them on this side, but just with the gloss and the finish of the cards, we're getting too much reflection from the light, so they're over there. Now each player will also have, as you can see partially on camera, their starting deck. Now we'll shuffle these up just because, and each player will have their 10 starting cards, as you can see. Now these decks will be half off camera as well as the discard piles, because I just want to make sure that everything that's crucial to see has the best visibility, and make sure we don't have too much glare coming from our lighting. So we've got that set up. Next, you're going to want to set the stats of your mech. So I just use, this could be used as 20 or 0. I just like to use the Japanime logo as 0 for the start of the game. For ranged, durability is 1. Durability is 1. And then you add, actually, no, it's actually 2, because you add the durability of your mech and your prototype together. Same thing for your melee, it is 2. Now we need to set up the HQ. To do that, we draw 8 cards. So we'll set them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if you do happen to get a double like we have right here, you actually stack it on top of the other card and you reveal another card. So there you have it. We are all set up and ready to play. Now each player just needs to draw your starting hand, which I'll do. I'll show you. So here we've got player 1, Super Ham Knuckles, excuse me, rotating railgun, up 2 operators, and a high frequency blade. I'll just shuffle this up a little bit. I'll draw 5, 4, 5 for player 2. You can see their starting hand is almost identical, except we got the engineer. So there you have it. We'll just keep those visible. I'll probably move them around as we get into the how to play, but keep it right here. I'll be coming back at you with our how to play. Now I'm going to teach you how to play Core Connection Rise of Atlantis. In terms of what we had in the HQ after the setup, I didn't love what was there, so I just reset it up. You can see we've got a few Navi systems, couple on spine coils, 2 implosion generators, one of the best cards in the game. We'll redraw our hand since we reset everything, and then we're going to start our main phase with player 1. So we'll draw cards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's see what we got. So we have an engineer, operator, some of our strongest attachments. Now during your main phase, you've got a few different options that you can do, and they can be done in any order. You can play a tactic. You can play as many tactics as you would like. You can also play 1 attachment on your prototype unless, or same thing for Resonant if you have one, unless you get cards that say otherwise. So we will play our engineer who reduces by 2 the number of resources you need to purchase and connect attachments, because we've got a nice solid one available. We are going to then play 3 cards face down. Any cards you play face down count as your resources for this turn. We're going to buy and equip the implosion generator. Now, we can only get one of these for our mech, so just not going to let the opportunity pass us by. It increases our durability by 2. Our range also goes up by 2. And we also gain 2 melee. So that is a nice boost to our mech. What we're then going to do is play the operator, which lets us look at the top card of the MD deck and return it to the top. So in this case, we have the Real Commander. The Real Commander gains plus X for the 3 times, so XXX for the duration of the battle for the total number of real troopers in all players' energy pools. Well, there's no real troopers. He does 4 melee damage, 2 range, and he has 4 durability. Unfortunately, we cannot defeat him with range, so we'll put this back at the top. Now we have a choice. We may go into the battle phase if we so choose. We also need to discard all of our cards that we've played. Or we can skip the battle phase, pass it over to the next player. Now, with the Navi system out and the fact that the Real Commander, as you can see, is worth 3 energy, even though my mech is going to be disabled, I'm going to risk it. So we'll play the Real Commander, who I'll play right here just so he's visible. And we have to declare what type of combat. The only type of combat we can beat him in is melee. So you have to declare that before you draw the card. Don't forget. I mean, if it's obvious what you're doing, and especially if you looked at the card with the operator, it's up to you and the other players to decide how you want to play it on the table. But the official rule is declare your combat before you reveal the card. So we're fighting him in melee. So we do 4 damage, reducing him to 0. He also does 4 damage to us, reducing us to 0, which disables our mech. Luckily, we don't lose any attachments or anything. This Real Commander, who I'll place just over here, now goes into our energy pool, and we have 3 energy. Now, at this point, we would verify energy to see if we can then reveal a true pilot or board a Resonant. We cannot, so it'll pass over to the second player. So we'll draw our top 5 cards. So we get a mechanic, the operator. And we've got some good stuff. So what do we want to do here? There's the emergency booster as well. We can play a few different things. So we gotta do this properly, and remember, everything can be done in any order. So we're gonna want, I want to get these EM knuckles equipped, and I want to get something else equipped as well. We could play all 5 to get the implosion generator. That's good, but it's not perfect. We also have the railgun. The railgun can do a fair bit of damage, so that boosts us up to 3. But the EM knuckles will get us up to 5. So anything else that can boost, we can use the NS Bind Coil actually as well, which is a pretty good starting card. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the mechanic, so that we may then connect 1 additional attachment. We're going to play everything else face down. Yeah, so that they equal 3. We're going to attach our EM knuckles. Now, these 3 resources, once again, can also be used to buy something. So whatever we buy can go right into our hand. And I like the Navi system, but I also like this frontline base. It gives us an extra resource, and there's a good chance that we might end up disabled. So we get 1 range. We don't increase our durability, but our fight goes up to 5. And I don't know what is in the deck. I don't love my situation. There's too high of a chance that I'm going to be disabled actually. So player 2 actually is going to opt out of their battle phase. So we're not as worried as about player 1 doing anything major right now because they need to discard a card. So we're going to shift over to player 1. They draw 5 cards and take a look at their mech. So before going into the main phase, you must discard 1 card from our hand to repair it. So no choice. In this case, I think we're going to discard the operator, which, as you can see with the mechanic, the railgun, a few other things, we could really have played some nice boosts this turn. Could pick up the Navi system, which is good, and actually, would we, you know what, looking back at this, because we're not going to get a lot of boosts, and I'd like to show you getting a pilot, we're actually going to discard the mechanic, because yeah, we're going to spend 3 to equip the Navi system. Now this reduces the amount of energy we need to declare a pilot, and for our tactic, we'll play the operator to reveal the top card of the deck. So we have a Vril Disruptor. Well, we're not revealing, it's already looking, because this has a 1 revealed effect. If we were revealing it to everyone, we'd have to carry it out. So we can take a look right now. It has 2 melee, 2 range, 6 durability. So we're not in a position to defeat it. Now, if we take a look over at player 2, they would be. We can actually go to the monster phase and just cycle this monster sort of away from them. In any case, we'll put this back to the top of the deck. Discard our cards. So we're going to go into the battle phase because right now we don't want player 2 to be able to defeat it. So we'll reveal the Vril Disruptor. Now we can't defeat it, but it doesn't have enough damage to defeat us. Obviously, melee is our strongest, so we would declare we have 5 health actually. We would declare a melee fight. We deal 4 damage, not enough to defeat it. They deal 2 damage, not enough to defeat us. This card then will be discarded. For the sake of keeping the player clean, I'm just discarding it off camera. So we're now at the end of stage effect. So we have the Navi system. We have 3 energy. So we're now able to trash our mysterious figure and reveal one of the true pilots. And there's lots of them that have some cool ability. I always enjoyed Cleo and Patra. So we're going to declare ourselves as them, as we're going to need to draw up 5 cards, shuffle up the cards, and we'll redraw our hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that was the top card, put it there. So we got a mechanic, 2 operators, rotating railgun, high frequency blade. Interesting stuff. Maybe we'll get some cool things. Let's reveal our 5 cards as it's now player 2's turn in. It's pretty straightforward what we're going to do. We want to get that implosion generator. So play the engineer. Play these guys face down so we can get it and equip it. This will make a big difference for us overall. And actually, we have an extra resource this turn, which I almost forgot about. So let's take a look at what we have here. Well, no reason to not play it because we're playing the engineer. If we had a mechanic, it would give us a good opportunity to connect up to 2 cards. So, wrong thing. Peek to head, doesn't really matter. We're going to be playing the operator anyway. See what we have. Vril Unite. This gains plus X plus Y plus Z during the battle. X, Y, and Z is the corresponding values of monsters worth the most energy in all energy pools. Well, that's fairly straightforward for us. We don't have... So yeah, X, Y, and Z, corresponding values of monsters. So if we look at this, we'd say that we have the 3 from the Vril Commander that would go to melee. There's no other energy pools. There's none in ours. So far we're okay. So we'd have to deal with a ranged battle for this guy. Luckily, we got the implosion generator, which brings our stats up to 3. So 1, 5. So our melee is now up to 7. So we'd even still be good in a melee battle with him. And our health is now up to 4. So in case, put this there. We will discard our cards. And we're going to go to the battle phase. We already know what the card is. Real Unite. So we declare a ranged battle just because we know we defeat him. Bringing this into our energy pool, which is, sorry, we'll put it over here. And if we get a Navi system, we'll be able to declare a pilot. So we're going to do another round of gameplay. Then if we don't reveal a Resonant and get close to it, we're going to take a quick cut and we'll come back and we'll show you how to actually win the game and what happens when you board a Resonant, as well as the differences when a character is awakened. So we'll go over to player 1. And I'm trying to remember what I did here. Sorry, I remember revealing it. This was their hand, this was their deck. I just placed it face down. All right, so what do we want to do? Well, with the mechanic, we can potentially equip 2 things on the mech. Rotating railgun wouldn't be bad. But we'd have to place the operator face down. So let's do that. So we're going to place all these 3 as our energy. We're going to equip the high frequency blade. And with the mechanic, we're going to purchase and equip the NS Bind Coil, as it's a card that we trash. So I'm actually going to have a fair feeling that we're going to need to trash it. But don't forget, once per turn during our made phase, we get to look at the top 3 cards of the deck. We don't have to reveal anything because we're now a pilot. And we can reveal a attachment and put it on our mech for free. So we could add another Navi system. I don't think there's much point to it. See, you may trust this card. I'm going to put the decoy unit because just in case things go wrong, we also get to put things back the way we want. Don't want search pattern necessarily coming out for them. So we'll attach the decoy unit for free. So that is a solid addition. Gets a little tricky to position everything, but doing all right. I'm sliding things up just a little bit here, hoping everything stays on camera. If anything gets cut off, I apologize. It does give us an extra +1 to go to 6. So that's the advantage of getting some pilots. Don't forget, we do have this attached. I'm leaving it out though because we are going to go into the battle phase. So we'll discard our cards. Let's see what we get. So the Real Guardian, and we would need to declare our combat, what we're going to be doing first and foremost. So we also did put on the blade, which I neglected to do. So looking at this, so let's go back, do this properly. Now, if I happen to declare range combat, I reveal this, no hope in heck. So keep that in mind. 2 is really not going to defeat anything. So we're going to declare melee combat using our melee. But there's one thing that we also did not do when I acquired the pilot. So yeah, when you acquire the pilot, to add up your total durability. So before this fight, let's go through that and just make sure we got all the correct stats. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 3. So we are total actually at 8. Yeah, just double checking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're total of 8. Our ranged should be 3 now. Then our melee is 1, 2, 6. All right, we've got all of our stats. We have the NS Bind Coil, which I just put off to the side because I'm probably going to need to use it. So clearly we're going to go for a melee. So we reveal the Real Guardian. Now, we'll trash the NS Bind Coil. Now we're going to use the ability to reduce its stats by -5, taking it down to 4 durability, meaning we'll defeat it, but it still hits us for 9, which means it's going to whack us hard, disabling our mecha. However, fortunately for us, it works out well because we're at the end of the phase. Our prototype now gets trashed, and we're able to reveal, because of our new energy level, an actual Resonant. So we get to hop aboard a Resonant, which is going to be tour set, which can have a total of 8 attachments on it. So this is something that wasn't quite clear in the rule book. Didn't say what we can do, but I always figure because you can trash the prototype, you can board your Resonant. So we're going to go through one more round, and then whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to use Core Connect to show you Awakened, and we'll show what also happens when you have an Awakened mech. Now, we're at player 2. We will shuffle up our hand. So we deal out, put a deck here, well, that's 4. So we've got our 5 cards. So interesting stuff, actually. So we can do some cool things here, but yeah, let's see what we want to put on. Because we're going to definitely play the mechanic. We don't necessarily want to play the engineer, though, because we probably want to get the Navi system out there and potentially the anti-rail barrier. So we can play these 3 resources down. We'll attach the barrier, as well as pick up the Navi system, which is going to let us reveal our true pilot. So I'm sorry that tour set's a little bit more condensed. We'll discard our cards. Go into the battle phase. We're in fairly good shape because we just added an extra 4 to our health. So we're going to declare melee combat. It's a real spawn. You get to defeat it, but this has got a nasty effect. If you reveal it, so if you look at it at all, it becomes a reveal and you have to fight it. No danger, but no energy value. So that sucks. But we did pick up the Navi system so we can trash our mysterious figure. And as we've got a character that's running away from us here, we're going to play Amelia Hawk as our pilot. So now we're going to go into what's going to be the last round of this, how to play. For Core Connection, we're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got our hand, seeing what we can do. All right, so we're going to use our ability to look at the top 3 cards of the deck. We get to take any attachment. Well, this would be nice, but we already have an implosion generator. Now, one thing I'm going to do, because I think these cards at the bottom, and as we're just doing how to play, I'm going to shuffle this top bit a little bit, but I did place a specific card on the top just to show you a little bit as to how these pilot abilities can be incredible, and we'll probably do the same thing for Amelia here in a minute. So let's say I looked at the top 3, and what do you know? If we get the God Forge Aegis, guess what? I place these things back however I want. Apologies for the fade, we ran out of juice. So as I was saying, and I'll jump back just a little bit in case of when I get to the editing about the cut point. So as you saw, I put a God Forge Aegis at the top just because I wanted to show you an example of how these abilities can be very powerful. So you get to reveal the top 3 cards, and I find the God Forge Aegis like, well, you know what? I can just take that, put those back in any order, and equip this 9-cost card to my mech. Its special ability is this cannot be removed by any effects, and your mech is immune to damage caused by any effects. So it's very powerful, and all of our stats, I know I'm getting a little bit up in there, go up by 4. So now we're at a total of 10, 7, another 4. So as you can see, rather quickly our mecha is becoming much more powerful. We haven't even played a card yet. Like, we've got so many other things that we're able to do. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attachments. We can get something else on there. We can also buy a cool card. We've got the coordinated attack, which is cool, but I want to buy Core Connect. So what we're going to do is we're going to play these 4 cards. We'll spend 3 to use the attachment. Just don't forget, resources can be used for attachments as well as purchasing. You've just seen us mainly buying attachments to the mecha. So now it's at 13. And then we're going to buy Core Connect, which goes into our hand. All cards we buy go into our hand. So you can play this right away. Your pilot becomes awakened for the duration of your turn. So we get to flip over our pilot, which is awesome. So main phase, reveal the top one card of the HQ. You may ignore the card's cost and player connected to your mech for free. So we had the Navi system, the rush supplies. This is how we put it back. Sorry, I thought I put it back the other way. Don't forget that's advantage though, because I look, then I can put it back the way I wanted it. But you got to be careful because remember, once you buy a card, things get played. So we'd have to properly play the card. Judging if I'd done this correctly, I don't quite remember. Lots of stuff going on. We could then reveal the top card, which would be Rush Supplies. Play this. So we get to then discard everything because it says resets the HQ. Then discard a card. If you do, you may purchase an additional card this turn. Well, we're just playing it because we can. It's not great. So that would go into discard. These would normally get shuffled into the HQ, but because I want to just make things keep going smoothly, reset it. We'll deal out another set of 8 cards. Trying to make sure everything stays visible. So we'll just slide that over there for the discard. And now, with our powerful mech, we're going to go into the battle phase. So we reveal the card. It's a Virile Parasite. If Virile Parasite is in your energy pool, the cost, so reduce the resource cost for you to purchase all cards is increased by 1. That's annoying, but we still smash the guy. He goes into the energy pile. So we get another 3 energy. So next, we take all these cards and we're going into the discard pile. So we'll draw player 2's hand. So we only have 4 cards here. We need to take our stack right here. We shuffle. Draw the top one. So we got 2 operators. Can get some nice range going on. Well, we're definitely going to be playing an operator to see what's at the top of the deck. So we have a Virile Trooper. It's good stuff. We're going to leave that there for now. We're going to want to, we'll double check all of our stats here in a second actually, since we got Amelia. So let's just make the rundown. 4, 5, 6. So our melee is actually 8. Our range is 1, 2, 3. It's now 5. And this is 2, 3, 4, 5. So this just goes up to 9. So what do we want? We want to add something with some punch. Already have the implosion generator, and a spine coil is not a bad idea. Actually, you know what? We're going to actually we're going to go with the NS spine coil, actually. Or you know what, we've got the long range sensor. Now let's add something with some punch, actually. So we're going to add the rotating railgun to increase that by 3. I'll take this up to 8. Now, not everything is good. Fighting at 8. We saw what we're going to do. So now we go into the battle phase, but Amelia's ability triggers with initiate combat, so you can check the top card of the deck. It's a Virile Trooper, so we just get to add it straight into our energy pool. We get to gain 1 energy, but we already decided to engage in battle, so we then get to draw another card for the battle phase. So we get to fight this Virile Trooper. We have to declare what it is. So for the battle phase, what I would have done is declared a range, because typically things are weaker at range. So we defeat this Virile Trooper, gaining another energy. Now if, for example, Amelia was awakened, so we're just going to give this example, you notice that combat result once per turn. If we defeated an enemy, we defeated the trooper, we'd be able to have a third combat essentially. And as she's awakened, we'd have the stats. We would then defeat the Vril Guardian, adding that to our pool, gaining 4 energy, and then getting the ability to board a Resonant, which would be Frontier. Now that's not what happened in terms of the cards that we had. I just gave you an example. If she was awakened, because we're going to wrap this up right now, but we'll explain right now the victory conditions, just to show you that how powerful the pilots are when they're awakened, and how at one point player 2 was behind, now they're back in the game. You're going to keep playing until one player crosses the 20 energy mark. Now, if the next player, say, equals or surpasses them, play will continue. When you come back around to the start of your main phase and you are the player with the most energy, or the first player to get to 30 energy, you will then win the game. So there you have it. That's how you play Core Connection Rise of Atlantis. Now keep it right here, as Julie and I will be coming back at you with our review of the game. So Core Connection Rise of Atlantis, your first mecha builder, mine as well. What did you think of the game?
Well, it's definitely easy to learn. It was not too complicated to learn and to pick up and to figure out how to play. I didn't find that it was very heavy on strategy. I think it's easy to pick up and to play relatively fast. As we said, our games were about 45 minutes. I do think there is a fair bit of strategy that comes into the game later on, but I do agree with you in terms of just learning the game, what you're going to be doing in the game, that strategy isn't present. And I think we both agree that the strategy that you're going to take is heavily randomized. It's going to depend on what you get access to in the main base, or the HQ as they call it, as well as what monsters come out of the deck. It really affects what you can do and how you can build your combos. Then the other aspect I find that is very important would be your pilot as well as your Resonant. Yeah, so I mean, for me, I enjoyed the fact that, this is, you're playing with cards. I like deck builders, and I do realize there's some variability that comes from the fact that the cards are coming up, they're random. That being said, I think in this case, yes, you have that randomness of not knowing what's going to show up in the HQ, and maybe you'll be unlucky and all the good cards will come up not on your turn, which happened to me a few times that we played. And also the randomness of the monsters, can definitely affect your game. I think we should definitely talk about that a little bit more in more detail afterwards, because in our last 2 plays of the game, the monsters that came out had a giant effect in terms of who won the game. Yeah, and I mean, I was fairly unlucky in the sense that I kept monsters kept coming up that would negatively affect my gameplay. Well, yeah, they kept disconnecting your strongest attachment. Also, I think I only saw them once. You must have ran into those monsters about 4 or 5 times throughout all of our plays. So I understood how it was getting a little frustrating for you. I think so there's 2 things, I guess, for me that kind of had a little bit of a negative impact for me on my enjoyment of the game. This is my preference. I prefer cooperative games. We play better not playing, up against each other, but I don't mind competitive games where we're really not, there's not a lot of in your face. You like low player interaction, competitive games, unless, and I'll straight this unless, because we have a lot of fun with Love Letter, highly competitive games that go like this. Or like tile taking games like Spirits of the Forest. Those go very well in our house. It's really the ones where we're like, there's more take that dynamic, and there are, so the way we played it, there are some cards in this that do have a fair amount of take that, like sabotage and things like that, where you're basically negatively affecting the other player. And when you're playing 2-player, it's really in your face. It may not be as confrontational playing 4 players, but it definitely was. So we tried to play using that a little bit less.
And I think that also did affect part of our gameplay because I actually did take the sabotage card, and I got a few stares from Julie as to why you're going to do that. And I looked at her and I said, well, this is the game that we're playing. Before we're going to sit down and review it, and the way things are going, if I don't have this card and I don't get it at the right time, there's a good chance I won't be able to win. And I really needed to try to engage her mech in order to have a chance of winning. It was just it's just the way that the game works. So that take that element, which is something that we don't always love, is something that you're going to have to definitely take into account in the game. But even then, in that specific game, it wouldn't have made that much of a difference. I might have gotten closer to her, but I don't think I would have let me get the victory.
Well, I mean, and you did win twice, and both times I just wasn't getting access to cards that were helping me improve my my mech or get my pilot. I mean, there's one game that I ended up winning, but that I was trailing by 20 points almost, not 20, because when you hit 20 it's the end game, but I was 16 points behind and said, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna win this game. I can't. But I did manage to get a pilot and then get a bunch of good cards that allowed me to handily win in the end, which I'm sure for Jason is completely frustrating if you're winning the game the whole time and then somebody was able to win it in the last 2 or 3 hands.
Well, it wasn't frustrating to see you come back. It was frustrating that, just partially due to the randomness, you got a lot of the big monsters that you could take that just showed up. What was really frustrating is how quickly you came back. It was like, okay, I'm going to start the end game, to her being like, oh, I'm back in the game, to then being like, I won. It was 2 rounds, and I was
3. It's 3 rounds, but
well, I'm almost completely blown away. So I think that's one thing that we can definitely say about the game. The game isn't balanced at all. Like, I don't find that the pilots and the mechs are balanced for regular gameplay. Certain situations that's going to be heavily dictated by the cards are really going to change the game. So the pilot that you had in question is Amelia. Now, if anyone from Japanime Games or Keep Dry sees if we interpreted the rules wrong in terms of Amelia, please let us know, because we went through it. And her card does say that in the initiate combat phase, you get to take a look at the card, and if it has a certain durability or less, you get to add it to your energy pool. Now, the second part of the battle phase says reveal a card. So the way we looked at that was that she could potentially gain some energy, then still go through her battle phase. And in your game, you actually got like 3 fights completed.
Because she was awakened.
Yeah.
And in the awaken, she has the ability, if she beats a monster, that she can then have another combat. So I ended up, at that point with a very strong mech. I had 3 times or twice 3 combat.
The equivalent of 3 combat, because 1 was a free card.
Yeah. So yeah, for that, I mean, yeah, okay, great, I won the game, but I spent most of the game way behind, and that wasn't much fun for me.
No, and then the last one that I won, was a little imbalanced too.
It was also, like I was behind for a long time with the same pilot, and I lost in a way that for me is a very sour way to lose, pulling a monster that I have no choice but to fight, even if I have, one of the cards allows you to look at the monster that you would fight and decide whether or not you'd fight it. However, this monster forces you to fight this monster.
And you get 0 energy.
And you get 0 energy.
The real spawn, very annoying.
So at that point, there's no way I can win the game.
No, and that was what happened to me also in the situation when you won, is I had a very powerful mech and you were ahead of me. I just needed a solid monster to come out of the deck in my battle phase, and I pulled a Vril Trooper, which is worth 1 energy. So that was just literally the end of the game. I didn't have anything that I could have done. I had the sabotage in my deck, and I was going to try it because it was literally the only thing I could do to keep the game going. Now, in the last game, I think it was Petra and Eltra that I was playing as. I know Petra's one of the names of the characters. They're twins. They get to take a look at the top of the deck. They reveal an attachment they get to attach it to their mech for free. I got one of the God Forge attachments, so this is one of the best attachments in the game. And theoretically, with that character and a little bit of luck, you could attach all 3 God Forge attachments to your mecha, making it incredibly powerful, and it's not going to cost you a single resource and energy. So the balance in this game is just all over the place. And I don't want to be sounding like really negative. It's just something I want people to know going into it, because I still really had a good time with this, especially building my engine and doing some combos, like the way the cards work together. I love the fact that I can buy a tactic, it goes into my hand, I can play the tactic. I love the ones that can just cancel out like the effects on monsters so that my mech's still really powerful. And the way all that works is incredible. It's easy, it's nice, it flows well, and because you get the decision if you're going to battle every time or not, you don't feel like you're in dire straits. You can actually take some time to build up your mech. But the randomness element, I do think, definitely interferes with that a little bit.
Well, and for me, it's more than a little bit in this case. I agree with everything you said about, you know, the enjoying the way that you get to pick up your card and the mechanics of the game. However, for me, it's not my style, my preferred style of game. And though I didn't mind playing it, and we played this game quite a few times, it's not a game that if I played it somewhere else that I'd say, hey, I really want to go pick up this game, because it's not my style of game.
No, and it's definitely more my style. I like competitive games a little bit more than you do. Even with the Take That, I love the art for the game. This is a theme that I grew up on. Giant robots. Well, these are super robots, not real robots. Not going to go into the difference, but Robotech, that is more of a real robot, and this is super robot. So we had lots of fun, I think, playing the game together. I think a disappointment for both of us, though, is that with a lot of the elements in the game, such as the big bosses, the more challenging villains, and the fact that the mechanics work very well for even solo or potentially doing something co-op. And it feels like that mode of play, especially a solo mode, in terms of how like the market's going now and that growing demand for solo play, to make sure that if you buy a game, hey, it's not going to just sit on your shelf. You can take it down and play it by yourself. It's just disappointing that that's not in there, because there really should be a way to do it. The only thing you'd have to really do to modify it is remove one of the characters whose special abilities are related to messing with other players. There's only one of them. It's thematic. It also works well for the mecha theme, because typically there's only one evil pilot or one pilot that's going to potentially double cross the others, but usually they all team up in the end. So I do like that for the theme, but you could take that pilot out and basically a few of the cards, and you've got the perfect setup for a co-op or solo game. So I think I'm actually going to play around with this and try to figure out a way to play the game solo or co-op, because I like to get it back out to the table. I like the art, I like the theme, I love building my mech. I just don't necessarily love all of the randomness that comes with the game, because I want to determine if I win or lose. And well, I do feel like I have a hand in that in this game. The fact that Amelia, provided we played it right, can essentially just rack up enough energy to almost get to 30 energy in 2 rounds is insane. Like, doesn't make any sense to me. And then I draw a card that's like, oh,
yeah, but as we saw, based on the randomness, it doesn't always
no,
help.
it doesn't always work. It's just in talking about the potential, it's so swingy that you're not, I feel like I'm not determining whether I'm winning or losing. And that game where you were so far behind, you'd have to admit that, like, you'd build a nice deck, you had a lot of bad luck. But I had a nice engine going with everything that I was doing. I'd got a lot of good cards. Everything was working well. I felt I really wanted you to get back into the game. I didn't realize it would be such a one-sided thing. It was like, all right, got the pilot, got the Resonant, smash, 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 win.
Okay, so I think we've talked a lot about the game. Are you ready to give your rating?
Yes, I'm ready to give my rating, but I'm going to let you go first. What do you think of the game?
It's a 6 for me. It's a passing score.
So I'm going to give it a 6.5, just a little bit more than Julie because of the randomness. I actually would love to give this a higher score because I really like the theme. Now, if you're okay with high level of randomness in the game, if you like mecha games, if you like deck builders. This is a game that I do recommend that you get for your collection. I just don't think that this is the game that you're going to introduce to every player in your group, and they're going to like it. I know that in the West Island Gamers group, there's one player that I know with just how swingy this is, they'd never want to touch it because of that element. There are some determining factors as to how you play in the sequence you play your cards, but I would say that the luck of the draw trumps that in this game, at least in terms of my opinion. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
Completely agree.
So, if you're an anime fan, you like mech games, check out Core Connection. You're looking for something a little bit different in a deck builder, check out Core Connection. You like randomness, check out Core Connection. You hate randomness, you like none of the other things that I said, well, this is probably not the game for you.
If you've been watching our videos for a while and you line up more with my style of play, then this probably is not a game that you'd want to pick up.
This is probably more a try before you buy if you line up with Julie's sentiment.
Yeah. So it's time to remind you that you can like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have new content for you.
Also, down below in the video description, you will find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see pictures of us playing Core Connection Rise of Atlantis, powering up our revealing our resonance, powering up our mechs, all those images will be there. And now popping up in front of us, you have links to some of our previously released content. The one in front of me will take you back to our most recently released video. And the one that'll be in front of Julie, I talked a little bit about it. Super robots versus giant robots and real robots. Well, that'll take you back to a review on how to play of Robotech Attack on the SCF-1. I feel it's the most thematic game that's similar to this one. So, are we no longer rivals? We're friends again?
I think so.
So, grab your drink.
Grab your best friend. We're going to keep playing games.
I'm going to keep playing games. Hopefully I'll figure out a way to play this co-op. I want to get this back to the table more often.